From the sublime to the ridiculous, the utterly ridiculous. I'm just reading this headline here. A transgender Nova Scotia man has filed a human rights complaint after the province refused to pay the cost of a hysterectomy it claims was voluntary. I mean, it's hard to believe. It really is. A court rules that a man with a penis, men have them, can still be a woman if he says he is, and then someone sues you, the state, because you won't pay for their sex change surgery. Author Walt went through all of this and he's survived. He's an incredible man. I really believe this. He's in Washington now. Welcome back to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. It's good to be here. Yeah, you've got a good one here, Michael. Boy, this is wild stuff.
Well, this is Canada. You know, we want to be compassionate. That there are people who have disorders, that they're uncomfortable in their own skin, their own body. You help people, but this idea of surgery, and if the surgery isn't given, then people sue, and the world is being turned upside down.
Yeah, it has, and you know, the real problem, as I see with this in studying this particular issue, is that here we have it's really a female. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a hysterectomy. Sure. And so the female identifies as a male. So because this female identifies as a male, they're turning down the surgery. If the female just said, "I'm a female," like she really is, then they would have paid for the surgery. So, you know, that's the other side of the absurdity. Apparently, as I understand it, the doctor said the surgery was necessary. If it was necessary, then, you know, the surgery should have been done because it is a female. The fact that this person identifies as a male does not change her medically. She's still a female. It is not a male. So, you know, this is what happens when transgenders try to have it both ways. And, you know, if the doctor did say that it was medically necessary and it is a female, then, gee, I think in Nova Scotia should pay for it.
This notion of self-identity, and again, there are people who are uncomfortable in their own body for all sorts of reasons, and we must help those people. But today, it's almost worn as a badge of honor. You know, what has really surprised me is the gay community. For years, the gay community said, look, we're men, we're women, we just have a different form of attraction sexually and physically and romantically, and whatever you think of that, okay, it's plausible. But this notion that you're in the wrong body, I don't think has anything to do really with the gay community. But they've embraced this. Of course, it's gay, lesbian, bisexual, twin-spirited, transgendered. But if I said I'm white, but I identify as black, it doesn't make me black. I'm still white. Surely the same would apply to gender.
Well, that's exactly right. You know, and as you pointed out at the top of this, I was a male. I lived 8 years as a female. I realized at some point during that 8-year period that this is just total nonsense, and was able over a period of time to finally get my head screwed back on straight and identify with my birth gender. Now, unfortunately, many of these trans people who identify as transgender do need medical help. They need psychological help. The fact of the matter is, as I said, just because someone identifies in a different gender does not make them a different gender. And that's why this gets so wound up. You have a headline that says, man, you know, has this hysterectomy. Well, men can't have hysterectomy.
Of course, of course. And this, again...
So, you know...
Go on.
Now, I was just going to say, so, I mean, on the side of the medical people turning it down, they look at it like, well, it's a male. It can't be true that a male's having a hysterectomy. Well, that does make sense. There's got to be something wrong because males can't have hysterectomies. On the other side, if the person just says, I'm a female, then it's legit and should be paid for. So, you know, this is when you start lying about something or not identifying with what's real and truthful. You know, medically, this person is a female, period.
Yep. And this, again, is not those people who are born, and it's terrible, it's tragic, born maybe with both potential genders. It's incredibly rare, but it doesn't happen. These are people who had, sometimes at a fairly advanced age, could be in their 20s or 30s, decide that they are either male or female, and that there are the inevitable consequences of this. Children now are being socialized, or actually physically pressurized through medication into changing their gender. So zealots are taking children and they're raping their future, and they're often being funded by and supported by the state.
This is the greatest form of abuse that you can do to children, is to destroy their base identity of gender and not to reinforce what their birth gender is. I mean, the gender anxiety, and that's exactly what's happening here. We are creating, not only in the United States and Canada, but around the world, we are creating within our young people, very young people, gender anxiety. They see all these things on the internet and on television. They don't know who they are, and the parents don't properly guide them into identifying with their birth gender, so the more confusion starts. And the fact of the matter is, there are some parents that wanted their child to be a different gender and kind of encourage this, especially today, you know, where it's so easy for them to take them to some doctor and have their gender changed. But it's abuse. It is the greatest form of abuse.
Yes, look, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I think you're a very courageous person, and I'm very grateful for your willingness to speak out on these issues. I wish we didn't have to discuss them, but to be responsible in this modern age, to be in media, you have to. Thank you so very much indeed.
My pleasure, Michael. Thank you.
Later, he's out of jail and back on TV. Brian Lilly, my favorite flower. Still to come, be warned, Robert Spencer and his new book,